Well guys, thanks for coming out for the AVA Awards. I think we'll just give a quick introduction of who we are, talk about the cars in the awards, and then get straight to the scoring. So Alex, why don't we start with you?
I'm Alex Dykes from Alex and Autos. I come from Northern California and I do cars.
I'm Matt Moran of Matt Moran Motoring. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I do car reviews and car news.
AKA Super Dex fan.
Super Dex fan!
I'm Kyle Lindsay. I'm from Saab Kyle 04 in North Carolina. I do in-depth car reviews that focus on explaining why each and every car is special in their own way.
Oh, wow.
Aww.
I feel like I now have to be special with I'm Nick Miles. I do primarily TV and Fox Sports, and also some YouTube and review cars and talk about car news and trends.
I'm Jason Fensky. I have a YouTube channel called Engineering Explained, and I teach about how cars work.
And you're a nerd.
And I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
But good at karate kicks.
Yeah.
Great at karate kicks.
I'm Sophion Bay. I do Redline reviews. I'm from Washington, D.C. I do kind of in-depth car reviews, kind of showing you guys how they drive and stuff. You know.
I'm Roman Mike, and I'm the publisher of TFL Car, Truck, and Now. That's right, 3 YouTube channels, bitches. Are we going to have to beat that out?
Bleep it out. All right, guys.
Quality, not quantity now. Come on.
Let's read off the vehicles that made the SUV, performance SUV category, and we'll start with Alex and work around.
First up, we have the all-new Audi SQ5.
The Volvo XC60 T8.
The GLC 43 AMG.
And the Jeep Trackhawk. Let's go to the scoring. We didn't explain the scoring, so we're going to have to do that, right?
Yeah, I'll explain the scoring. We have 100 points. Half of them are assigned by us, and half of them are calculated mathematically. We can assign 25 points per category. The 4 categories are fun to drive and style. Those are the points that we can assign. And the ones that we can't assign that are assigned mathematically or calculated are performance and value. Now, Alex, you're the math guy, so why don't you explain how we calculated the objective numbers, not the subjective numbers, which are fun to drive and style that we got to assign.
Basically what we did was we took the base MSRP of the models that we were looking at, and we made sure that we were choosing the models that had the horsepowers that matched what we were actually driving, of course. And then we divided the number of horsepower we had by that dollar amount, and then ranked them from 25 points on down. Then we took the 0 to 60 times quoted by the manufacturers and did basically the same thing.
Yeah, and then for fun to drive and style, we got to assign those points. So the most fun to drive car, of course, got 25 points and so on down the line, and same thing for style. So Nick, tell us what cars we had for the performance car category.
All right, let's start off naming the cars that we had as contenders. A lot of people were invited. These guys decided they'd like to participate this year, and so we started off with the Rolls-Royce Black Badge Ghost.
And the BMW M550i X-Drive.
The Honda Civic Type R.
The Lexus LC500.
We had the Godzilla of cars, the GTR, the Nismo version.
We also had the Dodge Challenger Hellcat wide body, so it could probably be able to put the power down.
And we have the McLaren 570S Spider, hardtop retractable.
And finally, the Mercedes-Benz AMG GTC. Do we want to talk about our SUV vehicles? So
Yeah, let's start with Alex. What do you think was the most stylish?
I think the Volvo was the most stylish. I was really torn between it and the Mercedes, but ultimately I think that the overall design is just going to age better. It's also a little classier inside and out, I thought, than the others.
Yeah, I agree. I think actually the Volvo is my favorite as far as style for the SUVs. Not only is the outside really cool looking with the Thor's hammer, but the interior is just so nice. And so inside and out, both I think it won on style for me easily.
All of the new Volvos are, really beautifully designed in and out. Me personally, I liked the Trackhawk. It's a really nice style. Like all Grand Cherokees have nice soft lines and stuff. And there's a lot of really cool little details, like the little Willys Jeep up in the headlights. Excuse me. But I like the aggressive styling, the big quad pipes out back. It just spoke to me more.
I'm personally a big fan of everything. Don't think we had a bad performance SUV out there, but I love Mercedes-Benz, what they've done with their coupe versions, and especially that GTC, like the high back end, the bulbous back end is very muscular and kind of gives you the sports car at the same time as giving you an SUV.
I really liked them. The Volvo, I thought it was a very close second, but I'm with Kyle on this one. I think the Trackhawk looks awesome. I don't think necessarily because it's the Trackhawk. I just love the look of Grand Cherokees. I think it's a great looking SUV.
So all the SUVs basically had their own appeal, but for me, the Volvo really did it. I mean, the XC90 was such a big hit, and what the company did is they just made it smaller.
Volvo, bitches. All right, Alex, fun to drive.
Fun drive. I was torn between the GLC 43 AMG and the others until I drove the Trackhawk, and the Trackhawk is just a special kind of insane, and nobody does like FCA does these days.
Yeah, for me, it was the Trackhawk easily. I mean, that 3.5 second 0 to 60 is just crazy in those things, and it's just an absolute blast to drive.
707 horsepower, all-wheel drive, crazy sounding exhaust, in something as big as that is, with the towing capability and the amount of people that you can haul in it. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's awesome. I'm so happy it exists.
I think you're starting to see a theme develop here too. They mastered the off-road Jeep in those years gone by and still today, and now they're starting to master the road itself with that Trackhawk. It was unbelievable sound, and especially when you do it and you launch that vehicle. Amazing.
Yep, 180 miles per hour in an SUV is stupid, and for that I love it.
Yeah, I mean, if I owned that car, the first thing I would do is I'd put 4 people in and just do the launch control all day long. So I pick the Trackhawk.
Now you guys are aware, right, that the Volvo is turbocharged, supercharged,
And a plug-in hybrid.
and electric. No! Hellcat, Trackhawk, of course. That's, no, you can't. How could you not vote for that? So, Alex, the question is, out of the 4 vehicles, which one won?
The Trackhawk won. It is our top pick with the most points. A very close second was actually the Volvo XC60T, which kind of surprised me. Then we had third place, the GLC 43 AMG, and fourth place, the Audi SQ5.
So congratulations to Jeep and the Trackhawk.
Yeah.
Well deserved, and I think every single person at this table would have one in their driveway if they could. I would also say that I think everybody here got the manufacturer's 0 to 60 times and tested it. Like that's really makes me
Yeah,
feel
the
good.
3.5 is legitimate. I think.
Yeah, it's legitimate. And the hilarious thing is we were getting 3.4, 3.5 with or without launch control. I don't know why the launch control exists. It doesn't seem to actually make a difference.
It makes it sound better too.
And you know,
It's just cooler.
Sophian, I think you could get that 3.5 even with your buddies in the
Yeah.
vehicle, right? That's the crazy
I
part.
guess
It doesn't matter.
Because it depends
I
how
think,
much
I think
they
the launch
how big
control
they
button
are,
is
right?
like the crosswalk buttons in some cities where it's just there to make you feel like you're doing something and it
Well,
doesn't actually make
show
a
you the
difference.
brake.
So the performance SUVs were great, but we also had 8 performance cars, and we've read those off a little bit. Let's talk about how we ranked those. Let's start with Alex again. Design, right, on
Yes.
the first one.
Even though I'm unlikely to ever own a Roadster, I really love Roadster proportions. That long hood, the tight body in the back. There's just nothing as good looking in this lineup for me as the Mercedes-Benz GT. I have to admit that the McLaren's pretty darn sexy and the Rolls-Royce Ghost is a special kind of fun, but it's got to be the Mercedes for me.
For me, actually, the Lexus LC500 was my favorite as far as styling goes. Very rarely does a car look so close to the concept car in production. Usually they get all toned down and more boring looking. The Lexus looks just like the concept. It looks fantastic, and I think it just, from every single angle, it's just the clear winner for me. I just absolutely love it.
For me, it was the McLaren. I mean, the body work, the intricate lines of how, you know, they made that air scoop go through the door panels and stuff, and it's just, it's so smooth and just futuristic looking. That would be my top pick, but I also really like the wide body. Now, I tested out the Demon a while back, and those fender flares are just ridiculous. They're so nicely integrated with the body. So I mean that for me, that's a really close second. It was hard to pick between the two.
I think Matt and I are on the same page as this one, guys. Lexus had said, or the Toyota group had said, they don't want to produce boring cars anymore. They certainly didn't produce a boring car with the LC500. I gotta love that spindle grille up front and those proportions. I do have a special place in my heart for the Rolls-Royce. I think the whole black badge thing is really cool. This sort of aggressive tattoo, like rock and roll style too.
Yeah. I don't know anything about style. I look
He's
like
an engineer. He's an engineer.
I look like Justin
He's a
Bieber
numbers
and I
guy.
wear hoodies. So for whatever it's worth, I liked the McLaren, and I have no further context for that.
So the way I judge styling is which car would I want to be grabbing the keys for. And between the GTC and the McLaren, I couldn't, resist the appeal of the McLaren. It was really the bright blue color, the power retractable hardtop, and just honestly the amount of stairs you get in that thing. So for me, it's the McLaren.
Yeah, there were no ugly cars in this group, and it was really hard to pick which one was the sexiest. And at the end of the day, I went with the one that wafted warm air down my neck, which was, of course, the Mercedes-Benz GTC, because it made me feel special.
And you kind of look like a Smurf driving the, McLaren. That's
Yes,
okay.
yes.
That's okay. Papa Smurf color.
So that was the first thing that we could assign points to, was the design, and then we did fun to drive, Alex. So you lead us through what you felt stood out fun to drive.
Fun to drive means different things to different people. So I really, really loved driving the Rolls Royce. There's just something strange about driving practically your whole living room down the road, 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, and not feeling a single bump in the road. I have no idea how many pedestrians I plowed over today. I'm sure it was a lot in the Rolls Royce.
So, the McLaren was my favorite as far as fun to drive. It's a McLaren. It's very extreme with its power delivery where, the turbo, it does have lag, but whenever it kicks in, man, it kicks in. And
what about the other one?
Combined with
I thought we had agreed that Matt was going to actually rank his cars as the one that made him giggle the most.
The giggle factor for the McLaren was very high, and it's a fun car. I mean, it's just, you get the awesome sound, you get the awesome convertible, top, so you get taking all the sights and sounds, and it's just, I don't know, it's just fun to just drive, and it's fun to look at. So all around, it was just the most fun in that regard.
And you totally look like a trust fund baby driving.
That's a
good
look.
Well, I'm in complete agreement with Matt. The McLaren was it for me. It was the most fun. A supercar is something very special anyway that not a lot of people get the chance to do so. So one, you got to feel fortunate, to have that opportunity. But two, it's the driving experience. You just feel so connected and so responsive, but it still rides really good. It's not as harsh as you might think for such a high performance car. And I don't know. It's amazing.
I think when I look down that list of cars, I'm sure everyone's going to agree with me, there was really no horrible drivers in there. They were all absolutely amazing. Of course, they're performance cars, but you look at the prices and you look at, there was a difference between like $380,000 between that Rolls Royce and the Civic Type R, and they still were both really fun drives as well. But I think that GTC for me is just absolute phenomenal. Great piece of German engineering. I really found that great.
Yeah, I thought the McLaren was amazing in almost every way, and when I was driving it, I passed a 90s Ford Taurus on the side of the road, which is the car that I learned how to drive in, and I thought, how cool is this that I'm flying down the road in a McLaren 12 years after driving a Ford Taurus. The McLaren is better than a Ford Taurus in every way, but I think there was a car here that was more fun to drive than the McLaren, the Mercedes GTC. I agree with you. I thought the steering weight was better. I thought the throttle response was better. There's some turbo lag in the McLaren that you don't really have in the Mercedes. It's got this cool design with the turbochargers inside of the V to reduce turbo lag, and it's very noticeable. I mean, it's only 0.2 liter difference in engine size, and yet much, much less turbo lag. So very cool. Shift speed was great. The only thing I didn't like about it was the seats were a little firm, but from a driving perspective, the GTC is what I love.
I find it amazing because we're talking about fun to drive and Jason starts to throw numbers out.
He's the engineer, that's why. Yeah.
This one I had things to say. Style, I'm worthless.
So for me, fun to drive really came down to two vehicles. It was the McLaren and the GTR Nismo. And honestly, I wanted to pick the GTR because of the launch control and how brutal it was. But ultimately, the really terrible ride quality over some bumps it's a little too rough for me. And whereas the McLaren kind of will filter out, and it has that ferocity that I was looking for that the GTR had, even though it didn't have the all-wheel drive. So for me, I would go with the McLaren.
So you guys probably know, if you watch TFL, that we have a long-term Hellcat, so I kind of have to recuse myself from that vehicle in some ways. But my favorite thing was the McLaren because it had doors that open like this. That's the Silicon Valley reference, of course, which is great until you get out of it for the 10th time, and it's not so great. It's kind of a pain in the butt after getting in and out. Literally getting in and out. So I'm going to pick the other muscle car of this group, which is the Mercedes-Benz GTC. It really is a German muscle car with that AMG engine.
Excellent choice.
It puts a huge smile on my face, and once again, it wafts gentle breezes down my neck with that hair scarf.
It's all about
I'm
the
a
air
sucker
scarf.
for.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Some hot air. You just want me to breathe on your neck?
I'm a sucker for hot air. So,
I think before Alex tells us,
I do have to say that since I picked the most expensive one for my fun to drive category, that my second was actually, oddly enough, the least expensive in the Type R.
Really?
The Type R is just,
it's great.
it is
It's an
just such a
amazing
fun little
car.
car. And honestly, we went out again in it. I honestly think we were driving certain areas faster
Yeah.
than in most of the other cars.
It can hold pace
so
with almost
easy.
everything here, which
It's
is
so
wild.
easy to drive and so easy
Not
to
in a
live
straight
with.
line, but yeah.
and the
But
one
you know, if I
it's
had a lot of
fun.
money, I'd still buy the Rolls Royce.
And the one car that was kind of, in a way, the coolest because it was a stealthy fast, right? It was the one that you don't expect to be fast, was the BMW 5 Series. It's actually the fastest 5 Series that they've ever built, and that includes the last F10 M5. It is a phenomenal car. It just doesn't look fast, but my gosh, that car will blow the doors
Yeah, no, I
off
mean, if you
almost anything else
Yeah,
out
if you
there.
want to fly under the radar, the 5
Yeah.
Series was
And
definitely
it wins the award for the most seat motions in the segment. It actually has more range of motion than the Rolls Royce.
really. Yeah, really.
So I think before we announce the results, maybe we should all just talk about the things that were most outstanding for us about test driving all these vehicles and the opportunity to do that. And because I'm sure no one's going to watch that if we do it after we've announced the results.
Yeah.
Because they're done. So let's start this
Don't
way.
stop watching.
Like, what was the
Keep
most
going.
significant thing I think you got out of driving all
Well,
these cars and
there are
SUVs?
two memorable moments of this whole, and by the way, guys, really had a lot of fun doing this with you. You guys
Likewise.
these are great
Yeah.
car enthusiasts, great guys, and I couldn't have asked for a better few days to spend. But there are two moments that come to mind. I was driving the McLaren here from the airport, and like this Explorer pulls out, and next thing I know, like 14 kids hang out the window with GoPros, like telling me to floor it. And when you get that kind of a reaction, it makes you feel kind of like a pop star. So that was really cool. And yeah, we might have to edit this one out. But I did a bit of a burnout. And when I say a bit of a burnout, I kind of did a burnout up the entire canyon. And I left so much smoke in the Hellcat that this Prius, Ian was filming it, Prius pulled up and they thought that there was a forest fire. Literally.
So we're talking about what was the most memorable
things that happened this
moment?
week.
Other than hanging out with 6 other incredible YouTubers and car enthusiasts, I have to say the most memorable thing for me was just the amount of filming that we got done, or at least for myself. Like I managed to film
Yes.
8 cars during this entire time, which I did 6 yesterday, and that was just mentally exhausting. I think everyone can kind of agree that. I mean, we had about 2 hours with each car, which sounds like a lot of time, but
It's not.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not
you
at
guys
all.
probably. Some of you may not have an idea how much work goes
Really
into
an
all
hour
these
for a lot of the
videos.
cars too.
Yeah, some of them were an hour, and I know some of us went a little over on time. I may have been one of them. I don't know. But yeah, no, that was definitely memorable. But it's really important, and we all do this for you guys, basically, to bring you guys all this content.
Jason.
I don't know why this part is memorable because it's very technical. But anyways, here we go. We're going to get
Very
technical,
technical
again.
again with the engineer.
So driving the Nissan GT-R Nismo back to back with the Hellcat, one of the things that was really interesting, I don't think there's any car here that can match the GT-R in downshift speed. Maybe match it, but not beat it. It's incredibly fast downshift speed. But if you put it in automatic mode, this is with in manual mode. If you put it in automatic mode and you put your foot down, you wait, and it's this like gentle, it's like, oh, you wanted to accelerate. I'll go ahead and put it in 5th for you. And then you're like, oh, it's still got the pedal down. Perhaps 4th is what he wanted. Oh no, okay, he wanted 3rd gear. And then the turbo spools up, and then you're like, whoa! Like it's crazy. It's wild. But the Hellcat, you're in automatic mode. You floor it instantly at downshifts, and instantly it's at 6,000 RPM, and you're already spinning the tires. Immediate. So it was a very stark contrast because it's like this GT-R is this very technically advanced thing. This Hellcat is much less sophisticated, but very cool, and yet it did this thing in automatic mode so much better where it was just instant. You put your foot down and you light those tires up. Even though you're cruising in 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th gear, whatever, it drops and it spins those tires immediately, and I thought that was very cool.
Well, I think the most memorable, two things that are most memorable for me is I'm technically like a news morning show guy, so it's little like weird things that like get me really impressed. So I think the most impressive thing for me was when the guy from Rolls-Royce explained that you can't steal the spirit of ecstasy because as soon as you try to steal it from the front of the car, it disappears. And I never, I knew they go down and up when you turn them off. But if you just tap it, it shocked me so much when it disappeared with so much force into the hood. I was like, whoa! It just made me giggle, and it was like one of the most impressive things about the car. You think you know everything about these cars, and you totally don't. I mean, learning the little bits and the intricacies, like the fact the spirit of ecstasy leans when you go at speed to just make it more aerodynamic was totally cool. The
I think we get it. You want the car. We get it.
I do. I mean,
Rolls Royce, give Nick
I
the car.
absolutely want the car. But I will also tell you what has been really cool for me is something that is sort of away from the cars, and that is the fact that when we came up with the idea of putting together the top video producers in the country who get 500 million views together every year, it was kind of a sort of a pipe dream. I had lived vicariously through all 6 of you guys watching your stuff, and I knew you. I'd met most of you. To actually meet you in person and spend time with you and realize you guys are so nice, and I have like totally 6 new friends that regardless of
Kyle,
where
he's
things go,
kind of rude at times.
including Kyle. Also, I have 6 new friends, maybe 5. Just put Jason aside. 6 new friends that just you guys view a lot of the same as me. Like the fact that we scored some points the same, we have same opinions, and we're also very good, except for Alex. That's probably the most memorable thing of test driving all these cars is the new camaraderie and the new friends I've made.
How can I follow that?
I didn't say anything about people, and now I feel bad, but all you guys are cool.
My heart has grown 2 sizes.
Well, I will say before I came here, I was very, very nervous because I'm used to doing videos that are 15, 20 minutes plus. It's what I've been doing for years, and they actually used to be sometimes twice that long. But to try to film just one car in 2 hours was like a daunting task that I just didn't know how I was going to overcome. And getting here and getting to talk to these guys and get opinions and feedback and ideas and put them to the test. This was an amazing way for me to try to branch out and do something different. And after I got through my first one, which was the GLC 43, it was like clockwork. I went to the track hog and I was just like bam, 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 bam. So I got this awesome short formula down, and I feel really great about that. I mean, as far as cars, I mean, the wide body it's just my favorite. It's awesome. It's the best muscle car that captures that classic spirit of like the 60s and 70s.
I mean, for me, the most memorable thing, well, I mean, I haven't giggled so much in a 3-day period. I mean, I giggle a lot, but I mean, to have that many cars, that were so mind-blowing, it's like one after the other. It's just like, oh man, I was at a heart attack in that car, and then I get into another one, I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. And it's like one after another, and so that, I mean, it was just the best fun, for that alone. And so, I mean, I had a great time at all of them, but also, again, the camaraderie, but not only the camaraderie, but, whenever we're all filming car reviews, it's just usually us and a cameraman, and so it's just, you have your own thoughts of what a car is like, but being able to, drive these cars back to back and then compare notes and be like, hey Jason, what do you think about this? Or, did it do this for you too? And, all these types of things. It was really cool to kind of compare notes so that you had a broader sense and you had more impressions than even your own impressions from driving.
Type R is so much fun. It is the first car that I've ever thought, I don't like the way that it looks, but I still want one somehow. And that's never happened to me before, but it's just fun to drive. The other thing that struck me as funny was how many cars use the ZF 8-speed automatic transmission? Out of 12 cars, how many cars do you think had it?
It's an amazing
5 of them.
transmission.
Nearly half of the cars here have exactly the same transmission, from the Hellcat to the Rolls-Royce to the Trackhawk to the M550i, the SQ5. They all use the ZF 8-speed. It's a lovely transmission.
It is
a
the
fabulous
first
transmission.
automatic transmission I've ever liked.
Well, thanks guys, and we also want to thank all the automakers for sending the cars, and we hope to do the same on performance cars and performance SUVs again next year. If you guys all come back, or we'll do it together.
So Nick, which one won?
It's Alex. Alex has the results. Go on, Alex, tell us. You're the math guy.
And it's the AMG GTC.
very close. Basically,
like-
one vote away for the McLaren.
Close.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
read
close.
down the order, would you?
The AMG TTC was our top pick. Then we had the McLaren 570S because Smurf Blue is really cool. Then we had the Hellcat because you can't beat 707 horsepower. The GTR Nismo, the Lexus LC500, then the Honda Civic Type R, the BMW M550i, and then of course the Rolls-Royce Ghost.
And if you guys are interested in the actual nuts and bolts, these numbers, we're going to put the spreadsheet that we used and how we voted on our Facebook page. So they'll be available for you to see, and then you can, see if we're crazy or see if we're on the same page as you. Right, Nick?
500 million people a year cannot be wrong. That's got to be right. Thanks for watching our very first AVA Awards, and we will have more awards coming up in the next year or so. And keep checking the Facebook page and keep watching our videos, because otherwise we don't eat.